Welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing, the most trusted podcast dedicated to the new business of location. Hello everybody and welcome to This Week in Location-Based Marketing. Today is Saturday morning for me, March 23rd, 2013. This is episode number 122 of our world-famous, world-revered podcast on the location-based marketing world. My name, Rob Woodbridge from Untether.tv, located in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. And with me, as usual, but not in his usual spot, Mr. Asif Khan. Where are you, buddy?
Yeah, Asif Khan, Location-Based Marketing Association, and I am in Munich, Germany. It's a little bit later here than it is there, about 1:30 in the afternoon, and yeah, all is well.
What are you doing in Munich? Where have you been? It's like the where's Asif? This has been this kind of week for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's just been a bit of a whirlwind week of LBMA activity in Europe. I started in London. We did a great little meetup of LBMA followers in London, and I was also speaking at the Social Media World Forum there as well, and that was a great event. And then made my way quickly to Berlin for the launch of our new LBMA chapter there, which went fantastic, and we had a bunch of great companies out. We had PayPal on the panel, eBay actually, sorry, not PayPal, eBay on the panel, as well as Nokia, and one of the guys from their Here group talking about all their location stuff, and just a bunch of great little startups in Berlin. And then made my way over to Munich here and meeting with AR companies and indoor positioning companies, the guys from Indoors, INDOO.RS that we talked about a few weeks ago, flew over from Austria to meet up with me, and so we had a good chat. And it's been a great trip, and looking forward to getting back to home tomorrow. But one of the big surprises for me was I'm staying here in Munich at a hotel called Le Méridien. And I didn't even think about it when I was booking it, but it's literally meridians, as in map contours and things like that. And I walked into the bar when I got here, and there's this giant digital art installation on the wall of like meridians and the latitude and longitude of the hotel. That's backlit in different colors as it changes. So here's a shot of it. So there you go.
That's pretty cool. It's
like the location guy staying in the location hotel.
And you had no idea. It didn't click.
No idea.
Well, we won't tell anybody about that. Oh wait, we just did. The location guy. Well, it's great. We can't wait to have you back in the country just for a little while, and we're going to be catching up for our event, which is in April when we go. We meet in San Francisco, April 3rd. Is that right? April 3rd. Yes. And of course, you can go to thelbma.com/events to find out what is going on and what we're doing there. But if you're in San Francisco, you're around there, please come out and visit us, and we'll be in the same city. Not Toronto, not Ottawa, but San Francisco, which I'm looking forward to. Cannot wait. I'm also going to be there a few days before that, a few days after. If you're around, you want to connect, would love to do that as well. But so this episode, we've got a jam-packed episode. There are a few announcements that I'd like to make just before. But if you want to know what's in the episode, very quickly, we're going to be talking about Foursquare and their shift from find to search. We're going to be talking about Apple and their augmented reality video patent that they've been handed. Got a great guest, Todd Greene from PubNub, talking about real-time applications. We're also going to be bringing in, we don't know if this is a shift in business or if this is a shift for a company name, but Gold Run and their new product Snaps, which is an augmented reality brand photo app, which is pretty cool. We've got my app fascination of the week, which is Twist. And of course, we've got this really cool story. We've got a resource of the week, which is around mobile commerce. And what it is and defining mobile commerce. It's a great infographic. And we've also got Microsoft talking, looking at this brand new, old school way of doing mobile commerce called, it's just BLE, I think is what it is. And it's around Bluetooth and gaming. And so that's all that's coming. But before we get to that, so if you're not interested in that, just turn this off, come back next week. We'll be doing this for episode number 123 next week. If you're interested, stick around. Before that, I've got one announcement, which is the fact that a book, it passed the launch date passed for this book that we've written, and I didn't even think about it. On March 18th, the book that we contributed to, which is called The Everything Guide to Mobile Apps, is now available. It's now available.
Hey, can't wait to read it.
I haven't read it, but it's available on Amazon. If you just go to Amazon.com and do a search, or you can go to untether.tv and look for this podcast or this episode, and I'll have a link to go and buy it or review it. I mean, if you've read it, let us know what you think, please. There's 22 other contributors to this, aside from Asif and I, and it was put together by Peggy Ann Saltz over at Mobile Groove. And go and buy it, or go and read it, or give us a comment if you've read it. We really appreciate that. You have anything else that you want to add to this before we get into the show, Asif?
No, let's just jump into it. Lots to talk about.
Boy, oh boy! The first thing that I want to talk about is my fascination this week, and I've been fascinated by this app for a number of weeks. I started using this when it came out in iOS. Last fall, I believe. It's an app called Twist, and this is have you used this app?
I haven't used it yet, but certainly everybody's talking about it, and it's probably the kind of thing that I need to start using, given I was late for a couple of meetings over here. But yeah.
Well, it just came out. It just came out recently for Android. It was iOS only, and it's just come out for Android. And it's very simple. I'm going to run a video here that kind of gives you an overview of what it does, and then we're going to come back and we're going to have a quick discussion about it.
It's about time. Twist is the app that lets people know when you'll arrive and lets you know when others will arrive. Nobody will be left guessing, worrying, or waiting. With Twist, there's an end to the waiting game. Have you ever needed to know how long it would take to get somewhere? Did you need to share this with someone else? Have you ever waited for someone or vice versa? Have you ever needed a reminder to leave on time? Have you ever made someone wait for you? Of course, we all have. People take about 1 billion trips a day. We're tardy 100 million times each day. Think of all the waiting, anxiety, frustration, and embarrassment that could be averted if there was a better way. The current state of the art isn't very state of the art. Harry and Sally are going on their first date. Harry promised to meet Sally at 7, but got held up at work. Before he can even get on his way, he has to consult multiple apps, his calendar and email to confirm his destination at Kat's Deli, his browser to look up Katz's address, and his Maps app to find directions. Frustrated, Harry starts driving. He knows he shouldn't text and drive, but he has to let her know that he's on his way. This on-the-way communication is difficult, unsafe, stressful, inaccurate, but all too common. Excited for their date, Sally even arrived early, but judging from Harry's misspelled texts and rushed calls, he didn't plan this very well. When he finally arrives, Harry spends even more time in more apps to Yelp Cats, check in on Facebook, and share a frowned picture of Sally on Twitter. Late arrival with poor communication cut this date short. If only Harry had the right tools. Fortunately, there's a new state-of-the-art. To eliminate the wait, Twist combines the best features of popular apps into a single, fun, and simple-to-use app. With Twist, Harry is reminded exactly when to leave to arrive on time, even accounting for real-time traffic conditions. Sally receives Harry's ETA. She no longer needs to rush out the door. Twist gives Sally quick access to a map, restaurant photos, reviews, and more, so she'll know what to order when she arrives. With one button, Sally sends her own ETA to Harry, which makes for a more enjoyable time for all, and second dates. Just how easy is Twist to use? Here's Harry's Twist home screen. He can set a Twist to any location, share his ETA, or request someone else's. 2 taps and it's set up and ready for you to leave. Whether it's commuting home, meeting friends and business colleagues, picking up your kids, or going to personal appointments, with Twist, the wait is over.
So, in a nutshell, that's Twist. Now, I don't use it for dating like this app says, or being late for a date, but essentially what it does, it's beautiful in its simplicity, is that it uses the app or messaging, SMS messaging, if they don't use the app, to plan a meeting or a location. So if you're going to be at a restaurant, you actually type in the name of the restaurant, you say you're going to be there at 8 o'clock, and then it tells you based on traffic patterns, the same thing like Google Now or Grokr, it gives you traffic patterns to tell you, how long it's going to take based on real-time traffic information, and then it'll send a notification to the people that you're meeting, whether you're going to be late or if you're going to be on time or when you're going to be there. And then if they have the app, they can actually request when you're going to be there. If you're going to meet there, you can connect together, and then they can request to see what time or how long you're going to be or where you are in this whole process. And it does this real-time information back and forth all through SMS or all through the app. I think that this is a cool example of things that are coming down the road for functional apps like this that bring in a whole bunch of different outside sources, jam it all together, and put it in an interface that allows you to do things in like 2 clicks. I like it.
I completely agree. I think it's powerful in its simplicity. It picks up elements of things that were closed network location sharing, things like Glimpse, from way back when. It would be when I started looking into this, the one thing that popped in my mind is think of the combination of Twist plus Gonna Be. And all of a sudden you've got a pretty crazy powerful app that millions and millions of people could get a lot of value from. So tying this up to that kind of calendaring I think is really interesting, and I think there's a lot of other services that could use an app like this too, beyond just our personal calendars, but just tracking things that have to be delivered at a certain time, FedEx, UPS, all that kind of stuff too. Could be interesting. So
it is. You're right. I think this is just the beginning. It integrates a little bit with your calendar. You can do all those kind of things. But there's another app out there called Tempo, which is kind of a smarter calendaring app that if you can see that Twist and Tempo. Tempo does a little bit of that by allowing you to say, look, send them a note because I'm going to be late, but it doesn't do that real-time piece. And I think that Twist, Tempo, Glimpse, Gonna Be, all that. There's a market here for this kind of stuff, and it's going to be fascinating to watch this happen as these apps become smarter and more productive. And I can't wait. I don't know that I'd give full control, right? Like, I don't think that you want to be spammed indefinitely saying, I'm 5 minutes away, I'm 3 minutes away, I'm 1 minute away. But I think that there's a balance here that you should be able to set, and this Twist app is a piece of this, the first piece, anyways. So very cool.
For sure.
You want to go,
they
have a great domain name. You can download this. It's available on iOS. It's also available on Android. I'm going to get them on the show on tether.tv to have a long-form interview with these guys. But for now, you can just go to twist.com, which I think is a great domain name. So twist.com, that's what I'm fascinated with this week.
Yeah, great pick, Rob.
Thanks, Asif. All right, let's jump into the news item. Our first story. This is a big story. Just because of the nature of this company. It's called Foursquare, the check-in king, 30 million users, 8 million active users every month is what they say that use it once a month. And now they're trying to change the perception of this company from a check-in application to a discovery application. So before, with Foursquare, you would set foot in a location and tell people you were there. Now they want to shift into a company that you're sitting at home and you're trying to find someplace to go, or you're in a new city trying to find someplace to go, and they want to help you get to that place that at one point you would have just checked in with the software. Can these guys survive this transition, Asif, from checking in to discovery?
No.
Okay. Second story.
No, I mean, first of all, I'm just going to stay on the track that I've been on all year on this. Is Foursquare. It will be acquired by the end of this year. They're in the middle of trying to raise yet another round at another ridiculous valuation to justify exactly what we're talking about right here. But yeah, they've got data and they understand where people have been, and and I was in this announcement by Dennis Crowley. He's like, yeah, we can see what foot traffic moves like throughout the day and wherever people check in and and I can predict where they're going to be 15 minutes from now. And yeah, but Dennis, like, you have 30 million users. You have 8 million people who are doing this. Okay, the numbers, the volume, the scale is not there to do this, with any kind of big data, kind of discussion like they're talking about. They're not growing at the same kind of clip that they were growing at in terms of user base. Everybody I talk to is pulling away from Foursquare, other than as a log of where I've been in the past. I'm trying to remember the restaurant I went to last week or something like that. And the reality is you got Passbook and you got Google now that are just going to blow this out of the water. So I'm sorry, but it ain't going to happen.
I'm with you on this. Is that changing the perception of all of your users? Like, so you think about it. You download an application, you use it vehemently and religiously for one purpose over here, and then they say, well, no, now we're no longer that. We're over here. But at the same time, they're releasing these videos that show, like, 24 hours of check-ins in 1 minute video, or where they show all the check-ins that happen, and then their key metric is the number of check-ins. They still maintain that, but then they want to be in discovery. And you're right, 30 million users, 8 million active users that use it one time a month, once a month. That's their requirement, which is not a discovery application, versus 1.1 billion users and 90% search ownership for Google. So 1.1 billion users in Facebook that are getting into this space, and everybody, 90% of the world's population uses Google as a search tool, and Google Local and Google Now and Grokr and all these other sites. Yeah. So this is this is a shift because they couldn't close a round of funding as a check-in software. Crowley only knows check-in. That's all he's done his entire career. So for them to do this, it seems to me like they're pandering for investment. They're trying to.
Well, I mean, and if you were in his situation, you'd be doing this too. But the reality is that it's not going to work. This is just going to be just another log on the fire for a few more months until it flames out.
Who do you think buys them?
Sorry.
So who do you think buys them at this point?
Apple.
Yahoo? Apple?
Yeah, I think Apple.
All right. Still in that way. Okay, well, that's...
I'm still there.
What do you think? Can Foursquare make this shift? The feedback has been very positive about discovery, but again, it's their data isn't rich. It's all arbitrary. I've tried to find, say, like a restaurant, and it's on 4 different corners, right? Because of it's user submitted content, and that's never good. So what do you think? Foursquare survived this shift? Are you sick of us talking about Foursquare? They're trying to transition from a check-in application right into a discovery app. Can they do this with their foes being Yelp, Google, Facebook? Is that not enough to make you scared? It would scare me if I was looking at investing in this company. So Foursquare, pioneers, but now grandfathers in the industry. Bye.
There you go. But thanks for helping create a market.
They did. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
You owe them a lot. You'll buy Crowley a beer when you see him.
Anytime.
Yes. All right. That was the first story.
All right. Our next story is a really interesting one. And this is speaking about Apple. This is about Apple, and they've been granted another patent yet again. This time for putting augmented reality technology on top of video. On live video streams, and this is really interesting. So basically, what they're doing is they can identify objects in a live video stream. And they can overlay information about the objects, on top of the kind of that real world image, so to speak, which is really cool because obviously we've seen a lot of AR stuff in traditional sense based on what the camera sees, but I haven't heard a lot of people doing this on video. And I'm a bit surprised, and we were talking earlier about this, that it's Apple that's doing this and not Google, given their YouTube ownership and all of that. But it's really cool. And so this is iOS capability only, obviously, at the moment. And the other part of the patent talks about a split screen view that they've developed into this as well. So you basically can split your screen between the live view and the user-generated or the camera-generated view on top of the video in side by side, which is interesting as well. I think if you for some commercial applications where you want to kind of contrast, what you see normally in the video stream and what can be layered on top of it. I think a lot of video editing and this potentially has like a lot of commercial applications in production, around video production. So it could be cool.
I think it is, and it opens it up to anybody, right? So that's the key here, is that any content that you can create, you don't have to wait for the Google trucks to roll down your street and take photos of street view photos and update those. I'm always leery about this because when it takes an army like this of every user to be able to contribute to this to get a full picture of it, that's probably what Google had in mind early on when they did the Google Maps, but they realized that that would take a whole long time. So now you see this, at least with the Maps product, and it was still imagery, is that like if you go anywhere in San Francisco with Google Maps and you click on a street, you'll get hundreds of user-generated photos that are contributing to that location and that spot, right? Mm-hmm. So they're starting to add or augment their own street view with you know, with people's photos. And I think that that's what's cool about this with Apple. But I think when you rely on the masses to contribute, to get, you know, there are 500 million devices out there, but how many are really going to actually contribute to this? That's the big question. And I think Google faced that when they did the street view, and that's why they send out the cars. And eventually they'll have enough content contributed by users to be able to not send out the cars every year, right?
Yeah, I mean, but if you think about, you know, it's interesting you bring up the maps discussion around this. I mean, you know, we know Apple's challenges with maps, but if you think about mapping today, and you think about, you know, the sort of, you know, how those nav systems work when you're driving or walking or pulling it up on your phone or what have you, more often than not now, it's not just, you know, here's a photo of, you know, the destination I'm trying to get to, or the building that's at that address, or whatever. You know, quite often now it's like a little mini video of, you know, here's what it looks like as you come up to that intersection, here's the sign you're going to pass, and here's the whatever. And you think about that now with this patent and the ability to overlay on top of that video, that short little video, you know, descriptors and other content, that becomes quite interesting, I think, from a mapping perspective. So anyways,
well, it's definitely going to be an interesting play. I love the fact that they've done this. Video is certainly untapped at this moment, and you would think that YouTube with the infrastructure and Google with the YouTube's infrastructure could be able to do this first. But I suppose it's the power of who's there first, and now you know, Apple owns this patent, and we'll see how this plays out. It's going to take some time, obviously, but very cool. It leads well into the next story, doesn't it, around mapping?
It does, indeed. Yeah, so the next story, we're talking about a company called Life360 that we've talked about before, which makes location-based family tracking suite of tools, and some integration with BMW and some funding coming through BMW's iVentures group. And this is really interesting because, I mean, we both, you and I, are big fans of the whole telematics space. You know, I think there's a lot yet to be done around, you know, the relationship between mobile and location and navigation, you know, in car, in vehicle. And this, you know, this is just yet another kind of, you know, step in that direction. So Life360 has been, you know, around this kind of family safety tracking space for a while now. You know, done a good job around that, been licensing some of their stuff to various carriers to offer that to subscribers on carrier networks. And BMW basically saw some value in this, has put some money into this. The amount wasn't disclosed in the stuff that I read. But basically what they're looking at is that, you know, just adding value to that process of in car. So if something happens, you know, that and you need to get to a family member in a hurry, you need to know where that person is, you can just basically hit a button or voice a you know, a query, and, you know, say, hey, Rob, and it'll basically start driving the car right to wherever Rob is right now, you know, if that's where the issue is. And you can think about this for not just for you know, residential applications, but think about this for, you know, police services, for all kinds of different things. You know, I think this is pretty cool.
Oh yeah, I love these guys. And here's a company that we featured a couple of times and had been featured on Untether.tv, and they have 30 million users. It's the quietest 30 million users ever. Foursquare has 30 million users. These guys have 30 million users, and their valuation isn't nearly as crazy as what Foursquare is asking. But you know, when you think it, put it in perspective, a lot of the focus has been thrust upon darlings in the technology industry like Path with 6 million users. You know, it's crazy to think that this company that is doing all of these innovative things and is not getting worldwide press because you know, they're focusing on actually the core, which is adding value to a customer, not glossing something over. And 30 million users, this is registered users, and this is a service that will save lives, will contribute to the well-being of what we're doing. So these guys are doing it.
No question. And they said in the statement here too, it's you know, while this is with BMW, you know, they see other applications for this around, you know, the home security, energy, you know, all kinds of other things around that. So I think there's a lot of value here. And the interesting thing is, you know, these guys are coming from pushing a series of family tracking services primarily through the carriers. And I don't know about what the carriers are like, outside of Canada, but I can tell you that, for sure in Canada, like Rogers and people like that are already offering home security and, energy, home management stuff. So adding this kind of location layer to those services where, it tracks the occupants of the house as soon as everybody leaves the house, it arms the security system, stuff like that. Because that's the biggest problem with security is like, you forget to turn it on or whatever. So if that can all be automatically done as soon as all the occupants are out, I mean, that's pretty interesting. So
the business lesson here is so clear, is that, listen, these guys are now, and any company that has, you don't need 30 million registered users, but when you have a base of installed users, you can start to look at different ways, different revenue opportunities to actually go back into those 30 million users, or those 10 users, or 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 users. You're not limited to the business that you're in. You just can't go and take a huge left turn, maybe like Foursquare's doing, going from checking in to discovery. I mean, there's a big gap between those two. This is like the natural extension of what these guys are doing, what Life360 are doing. It just makes so much sense. And every time they do that, they take a portion of those 30 million users, whatever they are active, I'm not sure, but they take a portion of those and increase the average revenue per user, right? They just add new services and their revenue gets bumped. And that is a business that I love, right? The ability to go after multiple streams of revenue from the same customer that adds to their lives, to augments their lives. I think it's great.
Love it.
So before, that's life360.com. Go and check them out. But there's a corollary. There's another story to this. What's with these cars? Getting involved with these auto companies, getting involved with these. They're the new platform, obviously.
Oh, yeah, and BMW's been there for a while. I mean, iVentures is a whole separate company they set up a couple of years ago. It's got an office in New York City, and they've been funding all kinds of great transportation-related projects. I know, actually, I was talking to some guys over here in Germany, obviously, where BMW is based, and they, BMW iVentures is very, very active in this space. So it's, kudos to them for seeing opportunities and making it happen.
Well, think about that automobiles created industry, right? They created everything from the teleworker, the highway infrastructure, fast food. They were basically the pivot of an economy, of a global economy, right? When this happened, so of course they're going to be. They are the #1 location-based app. That's what cars are, right? So of course they're going to be so active in this. It's in their interest that we are captive there for sometimes an hour commute each way. We're captive there when we go on family trips. This is an opportunity that is ripe, and we think that the living room is ripe for disruption. The inside of the cabin, that dashboard inside of that cabin of a car is probably on par, right? As a battlefield, and I
without question.
Cool. So what is Volkswagen doing then?
So Volkswagen it actually hasn't launched yet, but they're about to launch something called Smileage, which is really interesting. I love the name. I mean, Volkswagen's always been about kind of fun and fun to drive and fun to be part of the brand and all that kind of stuff. And so they launched this thing called Smileage, which is an app that integrates with the vehicle as well, and it's all about just creating a fun experience. It's about earning points or punches, as they call them, every time you pass another Volkswagen on the road. Just an extension of the brand with the people who love it is how I look at it. And it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I am. The one thing that I like, and we've been on this for quite a bit around the integration. We have these devices here, and the screens are filling up so much, right? That it's now so competitive, not only to get on device, but now to get onto the front screen and get the second use out of your app. I like this. Smileage, terrible name. The concept might be fine, but it's too broad for me at this moment, which includes punches and traveling with people and capturing locations and photos. And there's a lot of duplication with some of the social networks out there, and Google is just testing this, and I'm sure it's going to be built into Google Plus at some point. But what I like about this is that connectivity between the device and the car. So the car and the device are paired. I walk into my car, it knows that I'm in the car, and then it starts mapping my route. It knows where I'm going, it knows where I've been, it maps all that kind of stuff. It's like the Moves app, but for cars, right? So
Yes.
then it gives me basically a guideline of where I've been. I remember these things, that kind of stuff. Very interesting. Just because it's always on, and as soon as I get into my car, it starts activating, and when I leave my car, it stops activating, and that kind of technology, maybe not this exact one, but that kind of technology I think is so important, and it ties into Life360 about tracking. It ties into your car. It ties into always on pervasive computing. That thing that we've been looking at, and I think this is a huge trend that's happening. Very cool.
Yeah, very, very cool. And we're going to see more from car companies in general around this kind of stuff.
Yep.
I mean, they get it. They understand that there's a lot of value to connecting the mobile device to the vehicle. And yeah, so cool to see yet again from Volkswagen and BMW.
Yeah, if you're interested in the Smileage, there's a great video overview. If you're interested in Smileage, go to Smileage. That is exactly how it sounds, smileage.vw.com, smileage.vw.com, and of course, life360.com if you're interested in those guys. All right, first three stories, great stories, man, great stories. We're going to take a little bit of a break here for our guest, Todd Greene, who is the co-founder and CEO of a company called PubNub. He's going to be talking about real-time applications. This is pretty cool. The implications of real-time applications, how you apply those, some great examples in this 7 or so minute clip around location and real-time applications, and not just SMS. That's not real-time application. We're talking about core real-time applications, like immediate real-time applications. You'll understand what he's talking about as soon as you've gone through this. So I'm going to leave Todd to explain what real-time applications are and the implications of those. So take it away. Todd Greene, co-founder of PubNub.
So PubNub is a globally distributed real-time network. So what is a real-time network? We provide the building blocks that applications need for real-time interactive applications. And real-time applications are things we've all been used to. In fact, we're using one right now. Skype is a great example of a real-time application. It takes advantage of the amazing low latency of the internet to allow us to collaborate together. It could be chat. It could be playing multiplayer games like World of Warcraft. It could be sharing documents and collaborating around that, sharing photos. There's a lot of these things that we do online together. But if you look at one thing all of these companies have in common, right? Skype, World of Warcraft, Instant Messenger, Google Docs, all these real-time applications. The one thing they have in common is all those companies spent millions of dollars developing these core real-time infrastructures, and then millions more deploying them worldwide so that they work across a large global audience. And so, we discovered that the one thing that was holding back the explosion of real-time applications was the fact that it was complicated, expensive, and hard to do. So basically, by providing these core building blocks for real-time, we've now enabled literally thousands of developers, thousands of deployed applications to provide a real-time experience, everything from chat to multiplayer games to telecommunications, that they're using PubNub to route this traffic around the world. And that real-time traffic, when we talk about real-time core building blocks, it's unicast messaging, sending data to one device very quickly in under a quarter of a second. It's multicast or broadcast messaging, so that's sending a message and getting everyone who's listening to that all at the same time, about a quarter of a second or less. It's presence, so who's there? Who's actually on my device right now, or on the channel listening to this data right now, so I know when they come, when they go. It's real-time analytics. So show me a map of the world, show me graphs and charts of what's happening now. It's storage and playback of my real-time streams, and a few other things that kind of together provide those core building blocks for any kind of real-time application.
It seems to me, Todd, that it's so broad, the applications that that PubNub can power. I mean, are there certain areas that you're focusing on that are just so tangible that anybody who's listening can understand that?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's interesting. So it is completely broad, and if you look at our customer base, it represents that. So from a sales and marketing perspective, obviously we can't go after the whole world all at the same time. So we have specific vertical markets that we spend more time outwardly going after. Things like the advertising world. We've got some very large brands using us today, like the entertainment world, which encompasses everything from social networks to multiplayer games. And then third, telecommunications, where people are using PubNub for powering the next generation of things like WebRTC and other kinds of voice over IP apps. So those are ones that we sort of actively focus on right now. But if you step back and look across our customer base, we have people like Top Hatter, which are real-time auctions. where all the, kind of imagine like eBay, but in an auction room where there's a guy with a gavel. That's all being powered by PubNub. People like Get Taxi for dispatch, right, and other dispatch companies too, where you can see the motion of the taxi on your TV, on your phone screen, or your Class Dojo in the education space, doing what they call real-time behavior modification with students. So I could go on and on, but it is pretty broad. But what we definitely find is that there are uses across just about every industry when it comes to mobile apps and desktop and browser apps as well.
Okay, I mean, there's so many questions, and I want to understand what happened with Loyalize and how you ended up here at PubNub. But one that just keeps coming out is that what do you think? And maybe it's too soon to ask this question. I mean, we're only a few minutes into this, but what do you think the implications are of what you're doing? What are those implications? Like, I love the idea of education, real-time auctions, real-time anything, real-time taxi awareness. So you see there's little nuanced places where this can fit and create a pretty valuable service just by doing that. But what do you think the real implication of what PubNub is doing will be?
Look, I mean, it's huge. I've been excited about real time, even though the word is incredibly buzzy and means a lot of different things to different people. But look, here's what excited me. Like back in 2005, I had this aha moment, which is, for the first time in human history, and actually now after 2012, more than half the adults in the world online are connected in less than a quarter of a second. Using the internet, I can get a packet of data to you. I can get a packet of data to someone in sub-Saharan Africa, in Australia, in a quarter of a second, right? There's no other time in human history when that's ever been possible, okay? And what it enables, first of all, if you have a real-time network, is the ability to let people interact online the way we do in real life. So everything up to this point, what I call static applications, apps that are, you send an email, you get it a few minutes later, even a tweet, which is not something you're sort of standing there looking and it comes, a tweet, you check your tweets later on. I mean, all these kinds of static experiences. And of course, everything we've done in the past online, browsing the web, you go to newyorktimes.com, you don't know that there's 70,000 other people reading that article right now at the same time. So those kind of solitary static experiences are not how we interact in the real world. And so when you take a look at, if you want to use the term real-time apps, all they're really doing is creating the human experience that we sort of evolved to expect in the online world. So, I mean, the implications are massive, right? Because you can take a look at any space, and that's already happened. It's just that it's happened with money, with huge investment. So a few examples, Turntable FM. You may have heard of that company, right? I mean, Pandora went public. Everyone said, well, the streaming audio space, it's matured and it's kind of, slow growing now. And then immediately, they come up with a real-time version of a streaming audio site. You can look at the same for things like document sharing and having collaboration around it. Almost every experience that we have with a sort of older generation static app, you can imagine how much better it becomes with a real-time experience engineered into it.
But I can't help but think that as long as we're thinking about those old school apps like document sharing, even music sharing, right? I mean, I have a simultaneous experience on the radio with somebody, right? Because we're listening to the same song at the same time. And if you're from my city, it's like all radio stations are playing the exact same song anyways at the exact same time, right? So with that, there's got to be some applications where you're busting the norm. Like, it's not about watching me type. It's not about even Turntable FM. It was a cool idea until copyright lawyers descended upon them, and then they tried to figure out how to make money out of it. But music and entertainment is interesting. But there's got to be something that is beyond that, don't you think? Like, are we just touching the surface here?
Yeah, right. I mean, if you think about our vision. Think about our company vision, right? Which is a very geeky vision. It's one step closer to the singularity.
I love it.
So it's right on our website, right? It is bigger, right? I mean, there's a lot of dystopian views of the world, right? With respect to the singularity. Think of the Matrix, right? Everyone's jacked into the back of their head, and they're all part of this virtualized environment, and to the point where it's so real they don't even realize that they're part of this virtualized environment. And obviously, you can come up with some pretty nasty science fiction stories around that. But the reality is, as a people, we're all moving toward this very, sort of gradually, and to the point we're not really aware of it that much yet. But we are, right? I mean, so look, we're holding up. Every one of us has these connected smartphones now with always-on connections. This new Nexus 4 now has 4G. I've got like, I don't know, 15, 20 megabit per second download speeds. So I'm always connected. I have an unlimited plan. And yet my interface is still, these little screens. But you can imagine that for you to get to, let's talk about a good version of the matrix, a good version of the singularity, you need to have that real-time network so that all of that data and that awareness of presence is there, people can just plug into. And that's where we think of PubNub. We think of PubNub as the matrix, and we say plug your app into the real-time network, into PubNub. It's just like we provide very easy ways to plug your app in, to bring it into this real-time environment. So I think it's really that big. It is this core network around which any kind of synchronous experience will fit.
That is real-time applications. That's what it is. That's the implications. And I really appreciate Todd Greene for coming on, the co-founder and CEO of PubNub. If you're interested in these guys, I know you are going to be, go to pubnub.com. If you want some more of that episode, it is live right now on Tether.tv. It is one of the first top stories as of today, which is late March of 2013. But just do a search for PubNub or Todd Greene, and you will find it. It is a great interview that goes into a lot of his history and his previous company, which was called Localize. So thanks, Todd. Thanks for being a part of Untether.tv, and thanks for coming on and sharing this little clip with This Week in Location-Based Marketing.
Awesome.
Very cool. All right, back at it. Back at some news here. I have an aversion to touch screens on a big panel, like kiosk touch screens. I don't know about you, Asif. You may have heard my aversions to this. I think that they're smeary, they're dirty. Like if they look like my iPad or my iPhone, nobody wants to touch that. My kids will, walk up and lick them. It's like terrible. It just fills me with fear. So
it's like the modern day payphone.
Oh yeah. It's exactly what it is, right? It's like,
yeah.
And maybe, and in New York City subway, that's what we're talking about here. The New York City subway is adding more touch screen map kiosks that do quite a bit. But I'm just wondering, like, just like the payphone, is it going to smell like urine right around the corner of these things? I don't know. But, I think that screens are important in the subway. And I think that interacting with those screens are important in the subway. I just don't like this idea of a touch screen. But why would they be doing this? Is this an interim step? And is this still important, the touch screen?
Yeah, it's definitely for me an intern step. They call this on the go. The idea of what they're doing is they're replacing the transit maps, the subway maps, station maps, all that kind of stuff. That is up until now has been static maps, like just print stuff, with digital. And the idea being that you can walk up to these things and you can touch on them and you can kind of map out your own specific route of where you're trying to go to and kind of visualize it and kind of be able to, actually get a proper understanding of how do you get from point A to point B using the transit system, which sometimes is, if you're a visitor to a city, it can be quite complicated, especially in a city like New York. Where there's so many different routes and trains and whatever. So I like the functionality of it. I like that, it's trying to, bring that information to bear. They're also feeding in, live data about the subway system. So, if there's a track that's out right now or estimated amount of time till the next train arrives or all that kind of stuff is included in this thing. But I'm with you on the screen stuff. I'm not a big touch screen guy unless it's my own iPad or iPhone or something like that. I have challenges with with that as well. But what I do like about this is, in part of this announcement, the company that they've been working with, called Control Group, who built this system, has built it in such a way that it's flexible and is designed to allow third-party app developers to create their own apps to interact with these screens. And that for me is the interesting part. And I think at some point, hopefully this is interim in the sense that at some point, it's just a digital screen that's not touchable, but via your mobile phone, just like we talked about in the car a few minutes ago, where everything syncs up, that there's this ability to kind of walk up to that screen, have it detect that your phone is there, use your phone as a controller, so to speak, to kind of navigate and change content on that screen. And so, the tying together of platforms, for me is the interesting opportunity that exists here.
Yeah, we covered a vending machine. You remember the pop vending machine?
Yep.
Same kind of thing. A little bit of an overkill, right? But you have to also think about the digital non-natives, those folks that still have feature phones, not smartphones, and I guess you have to incorporate that. But I just think the maintenance of these devices or these screens is going to be a challenge. Like with so many people touching it, it lends itself to breakage and destruction and being targeted for vandalism and maintenance and all that kind of stuff. That I think that these are the added costs on top of it. So because it has to be, it's capacitive, or you have to be able to touch the screen. It just lends itself to breakage, right? So I like the idea that these devices, or whatever it is that we're going to be carrying, whether it's a smartphone or a tablet or whatever, can interact with the screen and get the information that it needs in order to be able to do this. The best thing that New York City, the subways in New York City could do, the transit authority, is to just enable Wi-Fi in the subways, right? So that you get connectivity down there, and then allow people even interactive maps or interactive screens on the subways themselves. I just think that the touching part is what.
Yeah, and there is some Wi-Fi down there in New York on the subway. But I mean, coming from building Wi-Fi at my previous company, I can tell you subway Wi-Fi is one of the most difficult things to do. It's not easy. So, and it's not cheap. But anyhow, I agree with you, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And yeah, at least they're going digital, and at least they're thinking about the future of how mobile can talk to that screen. So
well, good on them. And so if you're interested in that, just do a search. You can go to controlgroup.com if you're interested in that. A little bit more about that company. And I think that's the big story here, is those guys doing that. Not so much that they're implementing it, that New York's implementing it, but it's the company that's behind it. And so very cool. Controlgroup.com. Yep. All right, we're going to do something here for our fifth story that we've never done before, and I'm hoping that it works. I'm going to do a live demo, and I'm going to pull it up right now. This is we've talked about this company before, Gold Run, and we're not sure if this company has changed, because I see this, formerly known as Gold Run, change their name to Snaps, or if this is just a product that they're spinning out. But here, I'm going to show you what Snaps is. This is an augmented reality. And if you're listening to this, you're missing an entire demonstration, which that's your loss. You got to go and watch this video piece. But it is an augmented reality technology or camera app that allows you to participate, add yourself to the photo and around brands and around locations. So, as these are scrolling through here, as you see on the video, you've got a number of these opportunities to be able to bring yourself in. I don't know what Hanksy is, but I'm going to take a picture of myself with Hanksy here. So you are seeing this live. I'm going to actually bring it around. And I had a problem with this before there. So now it's focused on me, which is terrible, right? So there's Hanksy throwing something, and he's throwing the volleyball from I guess it's Tom Hanks. He's throwing the volleyball from whatever that movie that it was in. I can't do this all at the same time. Castaway, thank you. And I'm just going to kind of take a picture, I guess. Let me see what else they've got here. There. So now there he is on the Apollo. He's on Apollo. I'm going to take that one. There we go. So now I've taken a picture of myself, and I'm going to save it. I'm not going to share this on... you know what? I'm going to share this on Twitter. Why not? I'm going to send this to Twitter, and I'm going to share this. Hopefully it knows my Twitter account. So if you're seeing this and wondering why, of course not. I'm not authorized, so I'll just save it on my camera roll. That, my friends, is something called, as we demo it live, that's called Snaps. This is supposed to be the equivalent of a what would you call this? A Instagram for brands. It's supposed to be an interactive environment for brands to be able to get brand ambassadors.
I think it's interesting. Yeah, absolutely. So the idea here is that brands are kind of trying to figure out how they can leverage their creative assets, their photo assets, their images, and how they get fans connected with those things. And I think this is an app that can help do some of that, right? I mean, it's one thing to just have a photo of Mickey Mouse and send that out to a bunch of people. It's another thing to have a photo of you with Mickey Mouse if you're at Disney World, and share that with your friends. And you don't necessarily have to be there. to make this happen, right? I mean, you can, and there is a GPS capability or location capability to this app, you know, of doing certain things on site, if you will. But it can be, as you just demonstrated, you know, that ability to just kind of, here's the brand asset, here's me. I put those two things together, and now, you know, the brand has been able to capitalize on my wanting to associate myself with that image and my willingness to share it. So I think this is an interesting way for brands to participate in mobile and photos. You know, whether it's, you know, Instagram, Pinterest, all that kind of stuff has been very, you know, somewhat difficult, I would say, for brands to, you know, find ways to capitalize on that and you know, really connect with people in a one-to-one fashion from a mobile perspective. So this, yeah, I like the, you know, the possibilities around this.
And there I am. There's my photo. Yeah. Yes, I do too as well. You know, I think that the biggest challenge that you're going to have is, you know, when you always have to rely on user-generated content, it's hit or miss, and they're going to be big brand advocates, and I like this. It's a great way for brands to leverage their audience to be able to be ambassadors for them, just as you said. So, but this is a crowded space. Instagram is moving into this space right away, right, with actually taking real live photos of brands, and they're using it very effectively. So this is a crowded space. They're all crowded spaces. I guess we're waiting for somebody to come up with something that's so innovative, but augmented reality, and it may just be that.
Yeah, and I can tell you for sure. I mean, obviously, from the LBMA's perspective, we work with a lot of brands. And when we talk to them about kind of what they're going to be doing this year, or testing or piloting, AR is certainly in the top 3 over and over again of things that they're interested in trying and doing.
But what are they interested in, Steve? Like, you know, it's always I'm fascinated by this, because augmented reality to a lot of people is like VRML in those early days of the web, right? It's broad, and it's like, it's huge, and you know, you can like high five the green giant, but I mean, is that what they're still thinking about, or is there something more sophisticated?
Well, I think it's that, but I think it's, you know, like, I mean, Gold Run pre-shift here, you know, I think also tested some other interesting models, like with companies like Airwalk and people like that, where there's actual commerce happening, right? So, you know, brands are creating, you know, unique product SKUs of items that, you know, are only available via the AR app, and if you want to get that shoe, you have to have this app. So I think there's interesting models like that I think retailers and brands are going to start playing around with. You know, this just happens to be one very focused one around, you know, photos and tagging and sharing. So, but yeah, I think there's interest on a number of fronts around AR. So
very cool. So if you're interested in that,
and obviously Apple thinks there is too.
Yes.
So.
Patent, yes. So interested, I mean, you can go download this. Is available in the App Store and Google Play. You can go to snapzap.com and take a look at it, and let us know what you think. You think this is something that you would use? Would you endorse a brand this way? I'm very interested. Reach out, rob@untether.tv or sif@thelbma.com, or you can leave us a voice message at untether.tv/talk. Leave it to 30 seconds, please.
All right, our final story today, before we get to our resource, is coming from Microsoft. You know, we don't talk a lot about Microsoft in this space, but they're doing something really interesting here. They're testing out a new mobile payments commerce capability using something called BLE, which is Bluetooth Low Energy, and you know, it's really quite interesting what they're doing here. So it's been described as Square Wallet meets Xbox Kinect, and so they're basically taking Kinect technology and marrying that up with, you know, how Bluetooth enables connectivity, because Bluetooth is typically on a lot of devices, and so there's the same technology that, you know, you use to connect your headphones or your speakers or all that kind of stuff. That's the same Bluetooth low energy stuff that we're talking about here, for sending data back and forth. And effectively what they're saying is they believe this can be used at point of sale to facilitate a transaction, and where the Kinect piece comes in is for facial recognition. And so the idea is that if I walk into a store and my Bluetooth is on my device, I don't have to get my phone out at all. It just detects that I'm there, And then when I go up to point of sale to actually, complete the transaction, basically the facial recognition is already synced with the with my Bluetooth and device ID, and the person who's working at the till there can automatically make that connection. There's no need to scan anything, do anything, look me up, all that kind of stuff. It becomes somewhat seamless. So there you go.
Using existing technology, I like this. We have, I think we have a mutual fascination over with Worley, the chief creative guy at, the chief scientist basically at Chaotic Moon, and they use the Kinect to actually do a human-powered or a mind-powered or motion-powered. They've done 2 of them. Longboard, right? So you think about something and you think about moving and the board moves, or you move your hands and the board moves. It just shows you what the power of the Kinect can do, and I love this, that you're using technology that's already embedded in here, the technology that's been perfected enough so that it has a low impact on battery power and battery consumption, and then you take a technology like Kinect and combine the 2 into a commerce play. I really like that. The signature of Bluetooth is different. Square tries this when you walk into a restaurant or I guess a Starbucks and you don't want to pay. You don't have to take your phone out because it identifies you that you're in there. But this takes it one level further with that photo recognition. It pops up on a separate tablet 4 photos or 4 photos of, or facial when it does the facial recognition, it pulls up 4 different faces, and then you choose that one. It emails a receipt. There's a seamless, continuous thing. Who knows if this works? They've only done it with, I think, 700 transactions in a couple of stores, but it just shows that this world is not one yet. Square, like there's so many other technologies. It's going to be confusing.
It's really early days. Near field, QR codes, BLE. Square wallets, level ups,
ISIS,
everything. It's just carrier consortiums like ISIS and Weave, and it just goes on and on and on, and it's going to be a while before we really see kind of how this plays out.
But boy, does it ever! That's from Microsoft, right? So I love that they're innovating in this way with existing technology, bringing it closer to the consumer, because you don't have to go for Apple to actually have any kind of new technology embedded in their devices, or you don't have to download an app or wait for Square to be there. Just using new technologies, no dongles required. But that really does, that story is so great. I mean, this is so seamless. It's like you constructed this to roll right into each other, because what is our resource of the week?
Our resource of the week is an infographic that was put together by our good friends at mobilepaymentstoday.com, and it's called The Most Important Mobile Payment Infographic Ever.
Ever.
Yeah. So it's a pretty interesting infographic. There's some stats there that they pulled together from various sources around projected number of smartphone devices that are going to be shipped by 2015, and sort of the market size around mobile payments. Yankee Group's projecting it to be $1 trillion market by 2015. Juniper's a little bit less, 670 billion, but somewhere in the middle of there, it's still a significant market. Even if it's 800 billion, it's a significant market by 2015. So this stuff's coming. The best part of this infographic, though, is the part down at the bottom. It says, what is a mobile payment? And they've broken it into 5 categories. Mobile payment at point of sale, mobile payment as the point of sale, the mobile payment platform, direct carrier billing, and closed-loop mobile payments. And they put some of the key players into each of those categories. So I love it because, we hear about mobile payments all the time. There's a lot of confusion out there as to what is an NFC thing, and what is a carrier thing, and what is this, and what is that. And it's all mobile payments and all mobile commerce. It's nice to see somebody actually taking the time to put this down into categories and help people understand the differences between that. So great job.
Totally great job. Can't agree more with you. This it just shows that that there are people thinking about this challenge, and it is not by any stretch of the imagination. We are nowhere near crowning a winner, or getting any closer to the true mobile payment process. Simply because there's 30,000 other challenges, including battery power. I mean, I went skiing, took my kids out of skiing this past week, or out of school, and went skiing because it was probably going to be the last great day to ski. And by about 1 o'clock, my phone is dead. Right? My phone,
Yeah.
my power, like there's no more battery left. It is done. So, I mean, there are so many different challenges around mobile payments right at this point, but it's good that we're seeing these 5 classifications around the different types of mobile payments. But man, until it's embedded in my finger, like biometrically, I got a chip in my finger, and you know, it only stops when my heart stops beating. We're miles away from this as a mass adoption. We just are.
Yeah, yeah. But anyways, if you're interested in that, that is available, that infographic, at thelbma.com/research. It's the first item in the list.
Sweet. Well, that's everything. That's episode number 122. We've covered all of these stories. Great guest in Todd Greene from PubNub, and certainly an amazing app fascination with Twist. I think we've destroyed Foursquare. We like Volkswagen and Life360, and BMW, what they're doing with their investment fund. Apple is about to maybe disrupt the mapping industry with video and augmented reality. Company Gold Run launching the SnapZap. What else can we say? Is that good enough? And Asif?
I think we got it.
And you know what? Great connectivity where you are. So kudos to crystal clear, great audio. So you can stay there forever. I think it's fine.
Well, not only do they have maps all over the place, which is, you know, it's just great. Like even the carpets in this place are meridians. Like so everywhere you go, like it's crazy. But yeah, it's been good. You know, just great things happening here in Germany. Look forward to the next time, and but also looking forward to getting home and catching up on everything there. So. Well, have a safe trip back, Asif. Again, a reminder: if you're going to be in San Francisco, go to thelbma.com/events. We're doing an event on April 3rd with some great partners, including Urban Airship. So please show up to that event, or reach out to me, rob@untether.tv, if you are in San Francisco, you want to connect for a cup of coffee or something like that. I am around, and I look forward to getting that, and I look forward to, Asif, seeing you in a warm, sunny climate in a couple of weeks. We will be back for episode number 123 next week around this time. Whenever you're listening to this, we will be there. I appreciate you guys sticking around and listening to it. We'd appreciate it. A great review on iTunes if you happen to get it from there, or any of your podcasting locations where you download this from. But we'll be back for episode number 123 next week. Asif, have a safe trip home. We'll see you on Canadian soil. Thank you.
See you later, everybody.